And Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO to talk a little bit about the markets, China, and whether the trade war is over. Stephen Mosher joins us once again. Mr. Mosher, thank you for joining us.
Well, good to hear again.
So we keep hearing that the trade war or the trade battle might be going away soon. There could be an upcoming deal with China and America soon.
Well, I think China is certainly desperate to make such a deal. You know, they continue to claim that their economy is growing at 6.5% a year. That's a fairy tale for children. No one in China, by the way, believes it. Some people outside of China may be deceived, but there are bankruptcies throughout the country. There are tens of millions of homes and apartments in China that are vacant. Why? Because they've overbuilt. It'll take them years and years to sell all that property if they can sell it at all. And of course, there are lots of other problems in the economy because it's run by a Chinese Communist Party, which doesn't make decisions on economic terms. It makes them on political terms. Whatever strengthens its power, it will do. Whatever weakens it, it won't do. And and we know that that's a design plan for a government that simply doesn't work over the long term.
And when you're talking about overbuilding, you're talking about actual cities, right?
Oh, I'm talking about whole apartment complexes with 1,000 units. I'm talking about entire cities, satellite cities of major cities like Beijing and Nanjing and so forth. And what happens, of course, is that a building company, the corrupt head of a building company will go to the corrupt head of a Chinese bank or the corrupt head of a Chinese county or city and say, I need, $200 million to build an apartment complex. And he gets the money on the cheap, pays back under the table a few $1 million as a bribe, builds the apartment building. They don't care, neither of them, whether or not they can ever sell the units because they're both making money. And it goes on and on and on. Now, in the U.S., we've got about 6 months of housing available right now at current sales rates. In other words, if we didn't build another house for the next 6 months, by the end of that 6 months, we'd have sold everything in the United States. China has years and years and years of empty buildings. Vacant buildings, business complexes, homes, apartment towers. It's ridiculous the way they've overbuilt. And eventually, you have what's called a Minsky moment when all of a sudden everybody realizes, hey, all that property really isn't worth what we told the bank it was worth, and the property values collapse. And that's what's coming in China.
Our friend Stephen Mosher joining us from the Population Research Institute, where he is the president of that organization. Yet, we don't hear the news out of China that way, sir, because China controls the narrative, right?
Oh, absolutely. China tries to control everything. I mean, we talked, I think, about the social credit score in China, where everybody gets a score depending on whether they say nice things about the government on their local Twitter feed, whether they post nice things about the government. If they criticize the government, their social credit score goes way down. And if it goes down far enough, you get a visit from the police who say, you're really a suspicious character. You better come with us to a re-education camp for a year where we'll straighten out your thinking. So everything is under surveillance. Everybody is watched in China, and they try to control the flow of information. But occasionally, you have a crack in the Great Firewall. We had such a crack a couple of weeks ago when one of China's leading economists said that as far as he was concerned, China's growth rate was now negative. That video no sooner went up on the Chinese internet than it was taken down. Fortunately, we got a copy. So inside China, the insiders know that things are going downhill fast. Now, that doesn't make China any less dangerous. It actually makes China more dangerous because what do dictators do when they have internal problems? They create an external excuse to distract the people. So will the excuse be Taiwan, an invasion? Will the excuse be creating an incident in the South China Sea, which they claim, lock, stock, and oil barrel? I don't know, but it's a problem when a dictator has internal turmoil because he looks overseas to create something.
How have they reacted to the unconventional President Trump?
They have a very interesting view of Trump, which is very different from the view that some of our elites in the media have. They think Trump is a tactician of the first order. He goes from one issue to the other gets the best deal he can, gets the best concessions he can, and then he moves on to the next issue. So he's getting, they see, a lot done. Look what he's gotten done in North Korea, right? The missiles have stopped firing. The nuclear tests have stopped. We've gotten the remains of our Korean soldiers home 70 years after they were killed. So good things are happening there. But they also see him as a long-term strategist. They see him as upsetting their plan to become the dominant power in the world. For the first time, we now have an American president who understands that China wants to dominate the world, and that for the last 25 years it's been carrying out by stealth a Cold War against the United States. And they take him very seriously in Beijing. They take him perhaps more seriously in Beijing than they do in the capitals of some of our European allies.
What should we be looking out for?
Well, I think we're looking at a long-term twilight competition with China. As long as the Chinese Communist Party is in power in China, 94 million members of the Chinese Communist Party who live off the sweat and blood and tears of the Chinese people, by the way, because they don't do anything for the most part, right? The whole party structure in China is all about power. They live off the hard work and enterprise of the billion Chinese. So the Chinese people are basically carrying the Chinese Communist Party on their backs. As long as that party is in power, they will continue to tighten controls on the Chinese people. They will continue their united front tactics. They're trying to place Confucius Institutes in colleges and high schools and universities around the country to propagate, the good news about China, the propaganda about the regime. They're buying up radio and television stations in countries around the world, again, trying to expand the reach of their propaganda. They're creating their Belt and Road Initiative, where they're buying up ports and transportation lanes, railroads, and so forth in third world countries, extending their influence. So they're doing a lot, and we've simply got to be aware of it. There's a backlash now against China of the first order. A lot of countries that have been dealing with China don't like the kind of deals they've been getting. So we've now got, for example, the Five Eyes. We've got Canada, we've got the United States, New Zealand, Australia, and Great Britain all working together to stop China from dominating 5G around the world. Because if China dominates 5G, which is basically fiber to the phone, it's going to be 100 times faster than our current internet. If China dominates 5G, then basically they can turn it on and off at will. And if they turn it off, then a lot of things stop. So, we started to work together very closely with our allies who now recognize the China threat. And I have to say that God smiles on the United States, because had the election turned out differently, nothing would be done. We would continue just to walk quietly into the graveyard that China has planned for us.
Mr. Mosher, if people want more information about your group, what can they do?
Well, I've written a book called Bully of Asia, Why China's Dream is the New Threat to the World Order. You can get it on Amazon, of course, or you can get it from our website at pop.org, POP.org. That's short for the Population Research Institute, where we publish every day news and information about China and related topics.
Fair enough, sir. We appreciate you. We'd love to have you back.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. All right. Stephen Mosher joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, talking about, the international influence not only on our country, but certainly what's going on in Eagle, Idaho, where we have the French trying to buy another water company here in the Treasure Valley. We go to our intrepid reporter, Mark from Eagle, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, I don't know about that, Kevin, but I'll try to do my best, sir. Yes, I attended. We had a packed meeting at City Hall this past Tuesday. They were overflowing into the lobby area there. They had to bring in more chairs. A lot of people came up to speak to the city council and the mayor as far as what, their concerns and voice their concerns about what is happening. People should know that Suez had two open houses that they had planned for January this month, and they canceled both of them. And what has the reports now is what they're doing is reps from Suez are going to the homeowners associations in neighborhoods who have Eagle Water Company at present and to meet with them basically privately, away from the citizenry that live in those subdivisions, and try to work out and sell them their pack of, pardon the expression, BS. You know, Suez obviously is a French-owned multinational for-profit company, and they want to divert the water from here in Eagle to northwest Boise foothills developments and other areas away from Eagle. You know, I'm sorry, that's our water here, and it should stay here in our area. They're going and buying up small municipalities right and left. There have been word way back that United Water / Suez has been owned or have a great control by the Saudi Arabians, and that this has been a common practice for them to come into this country and buy up small municipalities because they don't have the ability to, when they want to grow the city and expand it, to put in the infrastructure. So they need corporations that have the billions of dollars to do it, but they're not doing a good job of it. And at that meeting, when you walked in the front door this past Tuesday, you had two guys who represented Suez passing out their little propaganda pamphlet. And surprisingly, on the other side of the pamphlet, or the sheet there, it shows their rates. Well, initially on the cards that I have here that I received at my residence here from Suez, what the rates would be for residential would approximately go up about 200% over a 3-year period. Not. I'm looking at almost a 400% rate increase. And what is really the killer out there, too, is for people in our homeowners association in our subdivision here, Kevin, we were supposed to get pressurized irrigation. So great for the people who have Eagle Water for their in-house use, but for watering your front lawn or your common areas in a neighborhood, if you don't have it, you are going to get royally screwed, pardon my French there. And I don't know.
Here, Mark, what are they hiding from the Suez people? Why don't the Suez people meet with the folks instead of, as you say, going to the homeowners association? And let me hit you with this. This is going to hit close to home, but how is the city of Eagle governed and managed? I mean, you had a town hall meeting with over 100 people. I'm
Correct.
sure there were more, but give us your thoughts on being an Eagle insider.
Well, living here for 24 years, we were paying unreasonably low water rates. Now, I could get into what's going on, what has been going on here with people in the past who have served on as mayor or city council members who had ticked off Robert DeShaza with Eagle Water Company, the owner, and that kind of didn't set a good stage. So the city has first rights to basically either say, yes, we wish to purchase it. I think the 29th is coming Tuesday is the deadline. Otherwise, this will go to litigation, it looks like here. And for business owners, this means a much higher percentage jump than just residential. I mean, 400 or 500%, not the original 300% or 303% they said. Here's another thing we learned at the meeting, Kevin, and for everybody out there who does not have Eagle Water Company, listen very carefully. You people who are on Eagle City Water, who get your bills from the city of Eagle, the Eagle Water Company has much more household hookups than the city of Eagle is. Now, for you who have wells out there who think you're immune to this, well, guess what? We learned at the meeting that west part of Eagle, some of the wells are starting to lower because Suez has water wells and systems and pumping stations that have been dug 50 feet lower than the surrounding wells of homeowners who have been there for decades or have owned those wells, or those wells have been there for decades, maybe 100 years, and their water levels have lowered because Suez is pumping the water out. So people, if you think you're immune, this concerns everybody in the valley because as Suez comes in and diverts water, buying up all these municipalities and diverts it elsewhere, your wells could go dry. And I believe there are state laws that talk about grandfather rights, but you have to get people to band together to protect those grandfather water rights here in the state of Idaho. So the other thing too is,
well, we've had a lot of things.
Yeah, well, chlorine is another one. We have great water here, Kevin. We've lived here with my family as a small business owner for 24 years. And there has never been a complaint about the quality of our water. Suez wants to hook it up to a system where they can add chlorine, and there are reports of people throughout the valley and across this country. By the way, across this country, Suez has a D rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have gone into numerous cities across this country, and there are so many reports about bad quality water.
Well,
and
sure.
Yeah, it goes on from there. So,
but let me just say, and Suez, they're welcome to, like you did, call in the program, and we'd be more than happy to get their side of the story if they're willing to to speak to the public.
Well, why would they cancel 2 meetings, 2 open house to the public, and then abruptly cancel those? And then go and do an end around and meet with homeowners association board members. I've been a board member in the past in our homeowners association. So, that's a sneaky tactic. I'm sorry. They're here to make money. The City of Eagle does not charge and make money off of selling the water for the City of Eagle customers. So if we are able to get the city to take this over, we may pay more money, but I'll tell you folks, I'd rather be paying and having it stay here in Idaho and pay it into a city-owned water municipality than have a French international company take it over. And that's about all I can add for this. I did forward you a couple emails with some updates there too, Kevin.
I appreciate it. It's always best to call in, Mark. You're always welcome, brother.
Thank you very much, brother. Take her easy.
All right, there we have it. You want to call in about the Eagle Water? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Kevin. Previous guest you had on there talking about the Chinese.
Yes.
Something you need to look at Chinese demographics. Their military-age male population is rapidly shrinking. The one-child policy and all that stuff.
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. You might want to check out a guy named Peter Zion with a Z. Sounds like Zion National Park, but it's spelled with a Z. Got a couple of really, really good books on the effects of demographics worldwide. If their military shrinking, they do not have the means of power projection in 5 years from now that they do today. Same thing with the Russians. Their military age male population shrinking. They're going to have an army about half the size they do today.
Or they'll have a bunch of robots.
I think that's the Japanese. No joke. Japanese, world leader robotics. Again, why?
Are they really?
Yeah. Oh, good grief, yes. Again, because they don't have the working, they don't have the manpower. Or strike that, person power. Real interesting book, and it's like, okay, what happens when the old men in Beijing or the Kremlin decide, guys, we got to use it or lose it? Next 5-10 years going to get real interesting. You talked about the ghost cities in China.
Yes.
Lots of buildings, no occupants. Chinese have got a huge presence in Africa. Huge.
Well, and they have it in Central and South America. Don't they control the Panama Canal as well?
Well, they're already there. Company that is contracted to run the canal, Chinese. And I'm sure if there's ever any problem in Taiwan, the canal, I'm sure, will be open to U.S. Navy ships without any problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's. Anyway, just thought I'd bring that up.
No, and Tom, let me just say this. I'm grateful because for years I've been about the only one talking about the Chinese and the dangers that they pose. Thankfully, the president has jumped on board and called them out for what they are. Well,
about when I was in the service 20-odd years ago, we got an intel brief on the Chinese. The guy said something. He was basically the duty expert on Chinese long-range intentions. Said something very interesting that I've always remembered. For 49 of the last 50 centuries, China has been an expansionistic military superpower. The 100 years of from like 1850, 1950, were a major anomaly. And China hated every day of it. Chinese are the middle kingdom. And by Chinese, I mean the Han or Han. They're the middle kingdom between heaven and earth. And everybody else is a barbarian. And barbarians just don't count. They can treat a barbarian any way they want because they're a barbarian.
Tom, appreciate the call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Lee Joe in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hey, Lee Joe, it's been a while. Hello, Lee Joe. Let's go to Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. Question for Liberal Steve. When is enough liberal religion called socialism going to be enough? Nobody's really talking about Venezuela right now. What's happening down there? What is that, the 41st time that socialism has failed in the world? I just, I have liberal friends, and I agree with them on certain things, and I don't with others, but let's just use another liberal religion. New York, the god of abortion. You can't put a needle in a mass murderer in prison to kill him, but you can put a needle in a baby in the mother's tummy, even right before it's born, to kill it. So my question to Liberal Steve is, if Idaho is an island unto itself, I would say we're an island. I know we need to work on our laws, and a thought I heard yesterday. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We only believe there's 3 exceptions to abortion: rape, incest, and if the mother's in seriously harm of death or seriously bodily injury. And even when those cases are there, you're still supposed to go talk to a church official and pray about it. When are the religions going to stop cowering to this liberal religion and stand up? And more importantly, when are the people in those religions going to stand up? I don't know the Catholics' beliefs on this one. Maybe you can tell me that, Kevin.
Well, Catholics believe in pro-life.
Okay, so is the guy in New York that's Catholic, what is the Catholic Church going to do to him for pushing this agenda?
There's a movement to get him excommunicated, kicked out of the church. I just saw a headline there. Como.
Awesome. I love it. And that's what I would expect my church to do. Now, on the opposite extent, if this person repented of this and denounced that he supported this, he could be forgiven, right? Is that what your church believes too?
What's that?
If he denounced his previous beliefs, he could be forgiven? Is that what they believe too? Is that similar?
I suppose that would, there's forgiveness in everybody's hearts. I'm not a priest, so I would just assume, yes.
Okay. So I've been going off on this the last few days, but we have, again, Jordan Peterson, not a psychologist, says anything that you basically put your life to. We know that pro-life lives his religion. It's his name, right?
Yes.
I just think we need to start thinking of these things in that way. A lady called in and says, why in Idaho can't we pass this when we can pass gun things? Well, there's a simple answer to that. We haven't been paying attention. We didn't care. And if we're not careful, we're going to pay the price for it. God's watching. And whether or not we are guilty of being pacifists or just not caring about it, we're going to be held accountable for it. And I totally agree with her. We need to do something about this. It's horrible when in the United States, in New York, you can euthanize a baby that's unborn right up until it's born, but you can't do that to a murderer that's been prosecuted behind bars. That's just...
And we will talk about that next, Brian. I got to run. Thank you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
KIDO Talk Radio, your proud home of Fox News Radio, exclusively in the Treasure Valley. Out to New York, Tanya J. Powers joining us now. And before we get to the end of the world as we know it, I think I have something that hopefully will redeem my shockingly poor performance the last time you and I had a chat.
Now, look, you said that. I did not.
Yes, I know, but, we're always evaluating like Coach Saban. We're always evaluating like Coach Belichick. So,
Wow.
So here you go. I'd like to get your reaction to something, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. So before I worked here, I worked in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and a friend of mine sent me something of a message board there, which is, a bunch of radio people going back and forth. It's been almost 10 years since I was on the air there, and they were talking about me the other day, and this is the type of show I did. I'm wondering if it would appeal to you. Are you ready?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. He picked on women a lot. He always said they should wear dresses all the time, and he would say, why do they wear Steeler football jerseys to church on Sundays? I could just imagine the phones lighting up. I guess he's still on the air somewhere. And then this other one, he would always say, what's up with that? So can you imagine me ever doing that? I mean, and by the way, is picking on women saying that you prefer them to wear dresses? Is that being a bully, a gender bully?
Well, it depends. Is that how you said it? That you believe that women should wear dresses?
I said, whatever happened to the dress? Dress is much more, in my own personal opinion, appealing to traditional American values than a pantsuit.
Well, I mean, nobody's stopping you from wearing one. It's okay.
Right, if you're a woman, yes.
No, I meant you.
No, that wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes, if it feels good, try it. Yes, no, not at all. But it was just funny. I'd forgotten all that from back in the day.
You apparently left quite the impression on the folks in Pittsburgh.
Unfortunately, wherever I've been, I've left quite the impression, but not enough to stay. So there we have it. And you never know. It's my career is kind of like a localized microcosm of the doomsday clock. How long till the end? Which brings us to the.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That was nice.
It's just when we thought I was just throwing the conversation all about something frivolous. Here we are, relevance, concrete, relatable, just like Roger Stone. Kevin,
you wound right back around to the hot topics. I like that. That was well done. Well, this is where I pick up and run with it. And I can also tell you, since you mentioned the doomsday clock, they came out yesterday, and I just want to say they, I mean the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. These are the folks with about 14 or 15 Nobel laureates on their board. They are the ones who decide, they say, okay, look, here's how far we are away from midnight. Midnight equaling the symbolic, destruction of humanity sort of thing, like nuclear war and, annihilation sort of stuff. And when they come out at the beginning of each year, they're looking at the sort of like an international overview of the threats that we are facing. It's not that we're facing brand new ones, and that's why it's at 2 minutes. It's the way that the threats are being handled. Of course, one of those, progress in nuclear risks. That's one of the things they point at. The reason that they left it at 2 minutes to midnight. They also say climate change dangers is another reason that they left it at 2 minutes to midnight. It's not just that. They call it the new abnormal. And when I say left it there, that's where it was last year. It was at 2 minutes to midnight. It has not been that close, by the way, last year was the first time it has been that close, I believe, since 1953, following the first nuclear weapons test by the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Well, like I said, I like it how you put that kind of, sort of, nuclear annihilation, this, that, and the other, kind of, sort of, I think it's either there or not,
I'm trying to soften it, like women wearing dresses.
I still, and I've done that a little here, I just thought it was odd that, and, just like here with Boise State, people there, they love their Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, that's America's team because they love them. But they would wear football jerseys. You'd have family members, and I'm sure you're not shocked by this, wearing, like the dad would have maybe Jack Lambert, the wife would have Troy Polamalu, and maybe the kid would have Ben Roethlisberger. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in a city when it comes to people about sports. And I go, if they had like sports team dresses, I could get behind that.
This dress thing is a big deal for you, isn't it?
We defend traditional American values here, madam. Just like the Tide, just like the Patriots, we're there with them. Just nothing to do with it. For entertainment purposes only, we like to say.
No, I understand.
Well, I guess since I have nothing left, I left it all on the field. That's all I have for you. I hope you have a great weekend in east of the Great River with all those people.
With all this, yes, I will have a good weekend. Thank you very much. You do the same.
Well, I appreciate you thinking of me, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya J. Powers, thank you very much for making us smile this morning.
Sure.
There we have it. Who would have thought we were smiling while talking about the end of the world as we know it? You never know what you're going to listen to here. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Russell in Meridian with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Russell.
Good morning, Kevin. I'd like to just say this, that this is a spiritual Cold War that we're in. And I think the rush of Christian America out into the public arena hasn't occurred as it should do. We as Christians are being oppressed by a political a power structure in Washington, D.C. And I believe that most Christians like me in our 50s who have known the Lord Jesus Christ for years have been in the closet. And we need to come out and we need to get in the public arena and in the churches, whether it's Catholic or Protestant or whatever, they need to be vocal. And this tsunami of Christian uprising in the United States will drown out this communist socialism because they're atheists. They hate Christianity. And the reason they do is because the premise of their whole power structure is venerating the flesh of man and not a living God who rules. They hate freedom because freedom comes from God. And I believe that the Lord, my Heavenly Father, called me to call into radio and speak out, calling men out of the closet, out of, protecting. I mean, we love our families. We don't want things like what happened to Roger Stone happen to us and Jerome Corsi. But this Robert Mueller is clearly an agent of the atheist. They're going to crush everything in America. You see this rising in the news with the kids. And it's time just to speak up, Kevin. It's time to speak up and declare the name of the Lord Jesus Christ as the King over this country, the United States of America.
Agreed. Thank you, Russell.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Thanks for letting me talk.
No, we appreciate what you have to say. You have a great day, sir.
You too, sir.
All right, Russell in Meridian. Liberty Linda joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. Tanya J. Powers is a hard one to follow, our rodeo queen. Anyway, Kevin, you could wear our cheerleader skirt.
No, I'm not wearing skirts or dresses, no.
You won't wear a cheerleader skirt?
We have a lot of goofy people in this building, and they go, hey, it'd be great as if you smoked pot one day on the air. I go, nope. Hey, why don't you be a cross-dresser? Nope. I don't really see the value in that. But, the world doesn't revolve according to Kevin Miller. But back to a couple of issues we have been talking about here, Liberty Linda. More importantly, what's going on in New York, this horrific decision concerning abortion. Also, Roger Stone being, they treated El Chapo better than they treated Roger Stone.
Yeah, I agree. I'm against abortion, except for the 3 reasons the young man gave earlier this morning. I believe in those reasons. And I have heard Roger Stone speak so many times, it doesn't surprise me when he was arrested that he pledged to keep integrity and not say anything negative about our president. I've heard him so many times, it doesn't surprise me that he would say that and keep his integrity. And the left, Kevin, has been going crazy since Donald Trump was elected. Anyone in our government that is not getting a check right now can go to, I believe, any bank and get money without any interest and pay the bank back as soon as they get paid again. So I wish they would stop saying that about these government people They should be fine. They should be able to get money and not even have to pay interest like the average person. So I don't think we should worry about that anymore. And Kevin, do you remember election night? They held back until 3 o'clock in the morning before they would call the election. I think that you and I could count the states that Trump got that night. We knew hours before they called it that he won. And, you know, they held back from calling it, and they kept us out here wondering what's going on. And no matter what happens, I stand up for Trump. He has done so many wonderful things for our country since he's been in office. It's truly almost unbelievable. So anyway, let's stand behind our president. Let's see what's going on in our country. And I love your callers. Thank you for having them. You know, it's just absolutely marvelous. They are people that know what's going on. So basically, that's what I have to say this morning. And keep up the good work, Kevin.
Thank you, Liberty Linda. Take care.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Pro-Life joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Yeah, you sure had good callers.
Well, the show's not over for quite some time.
I know. Maybe they'll get worse because I'm on. But anyway, not really. We're really at a war, and it's a spiritual war. You know, the people that have faith and freedom, we're at war against the people that are atheist, communistic, and rationalistic. And that really maybe is the majority of the people, but we have to fight and really fight hard. And the churches aren't going to get it done. The churches are tied to the government. They don't want to criticize the government. And I always will go to a unregistered church. In other words, a church that says we don't take a government corporation or an application with the government. In other words, the pastors don't marry with a marriage license, and you bring your gun to church, and you talk about politics and morals and health right there at church as part of the sermon, you know, and the discussion. That's the kind of churches we need. Now, there should be no exceptions about baby murder. As soon as sperm meets egg, that person, real tiny like that, before it even implants.
Well, what do you make of what's going on in New York and the evilness of others?
Yeah, that is totally sick. I mean, I wish I was a Catholic bishop and the governor of New York was in my diocese, because I would excommunicate him so fast that he wouldn't even know what hit. I mean, he is just really sick. And, of course, there's all kinds of Catholics voting in that state legislature.
Yeah, but you know, you have a lot of Catholics that are squishy as well. The church stance is pro-life, but you have people within the church that, you know, like some, they don't agree with everything the church does. And you have a lot of Catholics that voted for Obama.
Yeah. But
you had a lot of Catholics that, you know, are probably a lot more liberal than the church leaders would like. And I don't know how you can, you know, regardless of your position on life, how in the world can anyone cheer and justify killing a baby a day before it could be born or right before? I mean, what type of self-loathing, what type of evilness, what type of bitterness in people's hearts are there? And you know, on the radio, nobody really talks about it this much. We do. We have you on. We have David Ripley on because we do believe in social causes. We do believe in life, and we do believe in hearing what folks have to say. But to have that legislature cheer it, that you know, tell me the goodness coming out of that.
Well, there isn't any goodness coming out of it, and it just shows that now, instead of kind of apologizing for murdering babies, what they're going to do is they're going to celebrate it. We're at the days of Baal, you know, when they or Moloch, when they took their babies and put them on the fire and burned them up and celebrated that. We are there right now, and we're going to have to fight back.
Well.
And any organization that does not discipline their members on the baby murder situation, they're not with Christ. I'll tell you that, and it doesn't matter whether it's a church, a political party, a family, and anything. If you don't say that abortion is murder, then you're not with Jesus Christ. That's just flat out the way it is. And people don't want to get that obvious about it, but that's what's really happening.
Pro-life, thank you.
All right.
Don't forget, KIDO Talk Radio, your proud home of the Lars Larson Show, right after Sean Hannity, beginning weeknights at 6. And if you're in Canyon County or going to the Canyon County Kids Expo, I'll be there tomorrow from 10 to 2. Stop by and say hello. Max, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
It is a good morning for you and for me. But for the state of New York, it is the beginning of darkness. In China, as a doctor, as a trauma physician, I thought I'd seen it all until I saw practices that are now being echoed in New York. How in the hell can you give a standing ovation to passing a law that says, let's see how many babies we can murder? Those dirtbags are heading to hell in a handcart, I swear to God. And if you in Idaho are listening and you haven't made a phone call, if you haven't sent an email, if you haven't written a letter, you're a coward. And you deserve it if it comes into Idaho through inaction. This is nothing less than first-degree capital murder. This is infanticide. Why don't you take your 5-year-old, snap his neck, and throw him in the garbage can? Why don't you take your 1-year-old little girl? Do the same thing. Why not? It's the same thing. Are you cowards or not? Take some action.
Max, great call. I got to run. Good morning, Dave. Much more coming up next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.